Hey guys, it's Lizzie. So today I'm going to talk about Christianity and veganism. I get questions about this all the time. I'm very open on my social media and I've made videos about it, talking about how I'm vegan. I've wanted to be a vegan since I was in high school, and so I've had 4.5 years of cognitive dissonance. Like, I think the world would be so much better if everyone was vegan. And so that leads to a lot of backlash actually, because there are a lot of evangelicals in the US who think that being vegan is actually going against the Bible. Because in Genesis 1, God gives humans dominion over all the animals and over the earth. A lot of people will say things like, Jesus ate fish, it's not wrong to eat fish. I agree, it's not intrinsically evil to eat fish, or meat, or dairy, or eggs. My argument is just that it's very unhealthy. It's giving us so many diseases. It's shortening our lifespan. I am vegan for health, for the environment, and because I disagree with torturing animals. I don't have a personal problem with eating animals for food. If I lived in the 1500s and I had a family farm and we were growing our animals and they saw the sunlight and the grass and we didn't inject them with antibiotics and hormones, we didn't take the male chicks born to the chicken and grind them to death while they're conscious. Basically, if the modern factory farm system did not exist, I would have way less of an issue with eating meat, eggs, and dairy. By environmental, I mean that the factory farm system is one of the top causes of increasing greenhouse gases, contributing to global warming. Even things like our water supply, the amount of water required to raise animals so we can harvest them for meat, just making one hamburger, it's this insane amount of water compared to if you had a veggie burger. It's a huge waste of resources hurting the earth. Because it's not necessary to eat meat, eggs, and dairy to survive, why are we doing this thing that is really hurting the earth? A documentary I really recommend is called Forks Over Knives. They interview a lot of doctors, nutrition specialists in the video, and it just explains how the American diet in the past 50 to 60 years has completely changed.
This could be the first generation of children in the United States that lives less than its parents.
Heart disease is an absolutely toothless paper tiger that need never ever exist.
People who were raised in Japan, the Philippines, Korea, China, never had heart disease, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis.
This is the atlas of cancer mortality in China.
Virtually the Western diet was non-existent. They had no animal products, they had no dairy, no meat.
We learned that we could turn on and turn off cancer growth just by adjusting the level of intake of that protein.
I knew at that point what caused most diseases.
Our national authorities are simply excluding this concept in order to protect the status quo.
I have done so much research into nutrition, watched a lot of documentaries. I'm going to link a ton of research in the description. I did all of my research on nutrition. I figured this out. And a plant-based or vegan diet, if you eat healthy as a vegan, is the healthiest diet in the world and will reduce your chance of getting so many different kinds of cancer, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes. Other things related to this, rates of infertility have skyrocketed. With the creation of microwaves and TV dinners and fast food, humans are consuming so much processed food, so much fast food, such a high quantity of meat and dairy products. But particularly in rural China, their diet was so high in healthy carbohydrates instead of meat and dairy products. In fact, in a lot of Asian countries, they don't have dairy as a main part of their diet at all. And because of that, their rates of getting cancers and all these types of diseases are so extremely lower. It's shocking.
I know of nothing else in medicine that can come close to what a plant-based diet can do.
So many things are preventable, and I think a lot of people have this idea that if you're diagnosed with cancer, if you have to have surgery because your arteries are clogged, if you're overweight, a lot of people have this idea that it's genetic, that it's inevitable that we will get certain diseases. And some things like type 1 diabetes, leukemia, me having bipolar disorder, 99% genetic chance of getting this. Even if you do everything right and eat extremely healthy, some diseases you're still going to get. But a lot of types of cancers, heart disease, strokes, type 2 diabetes, all of these things can be prevented if you have a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. And my argument is that we have been manipulated to believe that we need dairy to have strong bones to get enough calcium, that we have to eat meat to get enough protein. So much so that for the first time in world history, we're getting not enough fiber in our diet. As a vegan, a lot of people always ask me, where do I get my protein? Where do I get my B12? B12 is actually fortified in things like Cliff Bars, fake meat, cereal, and protein is in literally everything. I get enough protein. But the problem is that people who consume a lot of meat and eggs and dairy products, they're not getting enough fiber and they're not getting enough nutrients and minerals. And the FDA recommends that if you are eating meat, to only eat 3 ounces a day. The FDA recommends that half of your diet should be fruits and vegetables. And throughout human history, this is the first time the Western world within the past 50 to 60 years where we are so low on fiber and eating way too much saturated fat or omega-6. And the reason that I care about this morally is because growing up, a lot of my relatives died of cancer. I stopped believing in the intervention of God because so many of my relatives died when we would be praying for them every single night. None of my grandparents are alive right now. And one of my best friends from college, her dad died of a heart attack when she was a senior in high school, and it's something that affected her so horribly, where she just years after would feel broken all the time. She doesn't have her dad in her life. And so I look at situations like this, and there are certain diseases that can kill you, that genetically you're just born with it. But there's so many other diseases that can be prevented if you eat a healthy diet. The most important thing with health and reducing your chance of getting certain diseases is having enough omega-3 in your diet. There are omega-6s and omega-3. So omega-3 is the good fats and omega-6 is the bad fats. Not completely, because about 2/3 or 3/4 of your body needs to be omega-3s and 1/4 to 1/3 omega-6. So omega-6 is saturated fats, omega-3 is unsaturated fats. So basically all meat except for fish, cheese, dairy, eggs, very high in saturated fat. So that's the fat you want 1/4 to 1/3 of your diet to be. Omega-3s are in seeds and nuts, certain oils, fish, vegan products. So I'm not saying you have to be vegan to be healthy. I'm just saying you majorly need to reduce the amount of meat and dairy intake you have in your diet, but you would have to eat less meat, cut out red meat, buy low-fat milk, low-fat cheese, low-fat butter, if you're going to have that perfect omega-3 to omega-6 balance. I feel like this is a moral thing just because, like I explained, you can die really young and scar everyone in your life. God gave us this life to live on earth. Our bodies are temples of Christ. Why are we going to intentionally do something that is going to hurt and harm our bodies and reduce our lifespan? Something else I want to say, so a lot of vegans on YouTube, online, think that it's extremely evil if you ever eat meat or dairy products. I'm aware that that's impossible for everyone to be vegan. A lot of my friends are aware of the factory farm system and they just really love meat. They know it's unhealthy, but they just like the taste of meat. And so my recommendation for everyone watching this video, you don't have to become 100% vegan. Just become 60% vegan, 90% vegan, 80% vegan. Start eating more fiber-rich foods and buy low-fat dairy products, white meats instead of red meats, fish over meat, increase omega-3, decrease omega-6. Look on the back of foods. If you're buying bread, make sure it's 100% whole wheat. If you're cooking rice, cook brown over white. If you're buying crackers or bread or cereal, look at the fiber count on the back. If there's not at least 3 or 4 grams of fiber in something, don't buy it. That's meaningless. It's not gonna make you feel full. If you're only eating white bread, white noodles, white rice, you're not getting any nutrients from it. It's just empty calories. And just going out to eat all the time, you don't have control of what is in the food. So that's why I really love cooking by myself. I know how much salt I'm adding to things. I know the nutrients of everything I'm eating, and that's really, really important for me. So a lot of people will make arguments that the paleo diet is similar to how our ancestors ate, but there's newer research showing that our ancestors actually ate much higher fiber intake than we have today. I actually took a class at Pepperdine on the Old Testament. We went in depth on the diet of the ancient Israelites. Everyone in the past as humans had a much higher fiber intake and a lower protein intake than the average American diet today. Where are you getting your fiber? You're probably not getting enough fiber. You're probably not eating enough fruits and vegetables to get all of the vitamins and minerals your body needs to run efficiently. Another argument people bring up against veganism is that we were created to eat meat. Our bodies have definitely evolved where we're able to process meat and get nutrients out of it. But if you look at just the shape of our jaw and our teeth, if you look at animals that are carnivores, their jaw is a lot more flexible. It opens up more. It has pointy teeth, kind of like fangs. And then if you look at animals that are herbivores that do not consume meat, if you just look at it, it seems like our jaws were not created to eat meat. Even things like the length of our intestines, so much shorter in comparison to other animals that eat meat, to carnivores, whereas the length of our intestines just does better with higher fiber foods like grains and fruits and vegetables. It seems to me like it's convenient for humans to be able to consume meat. There have been a lot of times in the past where we had to eat meat to survive, but at a time where we have access to as many fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and breads and whole grains as we could ever want, it just doesn't make sense if you look at human anatomy to believe that we need to be consuming meat all the time. I think everyone has been extremely manipulated by the meat and dairy industries. I'm gonna link some documentaries below. We've just been really deceived because if you look at the labels on butter or milk or eggs, it just shows like these happy farm animals chilling in the grass, and that's not at all how it is. They're in these tiny cages and it's horrifying, and a lot of companies will try to trick you to get you to pay more. This was a grass-fed animal. My favorite deception is cageless chickens. Chickens do not do well all hanging out together. They get in fights with each other. It's dangerous for them to all like be together. It's better for the chickens to be in their individual cages. But obviously having like this much space in the cage just doesn't feel moral to me. And the dairy industries will even pay for these got milk ads within our public schools. And in the United States, we actually subsidize meat and dairy. So it's cheaper to eat meat than it actually would be because our government money is going into subsidizing that and making it cheaper. And the reason this is able to happen is because a lot of the people who own the meat and dairy industries are in these government positions, or they are lobbying, pouring so much money into these government officials to make it cheaper. And Kant has a really interesting philosophy on how we treat animals, and he says that it's not that the animal is being tortured and hurt and harmed, but it's that a human is being forced to torture and harm the animal. And that's not good for the human's moral development. I absolutely hate that we have this factory farm system set up where to save money and reduce prices, a human has to torture and mistreat and harm animals on a daily basis just to feed their family. These people are just trying to get by and provide for their families. And actually a lot of illegal immigrants are used because they can get away with it. And so these people are in desperate situations just trying to feed their families, and they have to torture animals to make money. I just can't imagine how much that would mess with your psyche. And when it comes to hunting and fishing, I actually think it's great if you're able to hunt an animal and cut it up yourself. Like, you're being morally consistent in that you don't have a problem with killing the animal. And when it comes to hunting or fishing, this animal has grown up their whole life where they've been able to be outside in the grass in their natural environment and live a normal life. But when an animal their entire life doesn't get to see the sun or the grass and is just packed up in this tiny cage, that just feels so horrible, and I hate that we're putting animals through that. So something else that I hear constantly from a lot of Christians, they say that God gave us dominion over the animals, dominion over the earth, therefore it's fair game to torture animals, destroy the earth with greenhouse gases. God gave us lordship over the earth. He gave the earth to us to take care of, therefore let's destroy it. And that just honestly does not make theological sense to me at all. Let's do a metaphor of this. Let's say that your parent bought you a car or gave you a house as a gift. Here, use this, it's yours, you own it now. Would you like beat up the car, never get the oil changed, destroy it, burn it? Same with the house. Would you just destroy the house? I know I could pass on this house to my children, but like, I don't care about my children, I just want to destroy the house. It's cheaper to not do maintenance on the car, it's cheaper to not do repairs on the house, I'll just destroy it. I have dominion over this, I own it now. I'm going to intentionally not fix things and not do upkeep and destroy it. And so if you think of that as a metaphor to God giving us the earth and God giving us the animals, I see it as extremely disrespectful to God to be given this as a gift and then to destroy it and trash it and not care at all. That's just my general thoughts on taking care of the environment. And when it comes to factory farms, that's just a top contributor to greenhouse gases. And I feel so proud that because I abstain from meat and dairy and eggs, I'm not wasting tens of thousands of gallons of water. I'm not contributing to even more greenhouse gases on the earth. Because it's not necessary to eat meat, eggs, and dairy to survive, why are we doing this thing that is really hurting the earth? Another common response or comment I get to me telling people I'm vegan is that it is way too expensive to eat a vegan diet. Wrong. So I live in California, and California is one of the most expensive places to live in the United States. My average weekly grocery bill is $25 to $35 for groceries for the entire week. So I spend about $100 to $150 for the entire month on food. I eat oatmeal, bananas, kale, rice, beans, seeds, potatoes, tofu, tempeh, lentils, tomatoes, avocados, quinoa, bread, pasta sauce, broccoli. I make everything homemade. I do not eat processed food. I don't go out to eat that often. And like I said, in Southern California, my grocery bill can be $25 a week. The reason people think veganism is so expensive, if you go out to eat, vegan restaurants can be more pricey. Or if you go vegan and all you eat is fake meats, fake cheeses, you know what I mean? If you get the vegan equivalent of the meat or dairy option, it's gonna be more expensive. But if you just stock up on basic items like beans, lentils, pasta, bread, rice, vegetables, fruits, it's just so extremely cheap to eat as a vegan. I understand there are some places in the country that are food deserts and it's just way too far away to get to a grocery store to get access to fruits and vegetables. And I think the government should be subsidizing efforts to get fruits and vegetables to those people. But most of you have access to a grocery store and would probably start saving a lot of money if you went out to eat less, got fast food less, and instead just cooked your own foods from whole plant-based foods. So again, I have a ton of research and documentaries linked below if you're interested in learning more about how to incorporate more plant-based vegan foods into your diet. Again, I know from my experience that it is possible to eat vegan. It's really hard to commit to it, but once you commit to it, you really don't miss cheese, eggs, meat. Just because what you're eating is so energy-packed, so many vitamins and minerals, you feel like the healthiest version of yourself. My hair grows faster, my nails grow longer, my skin is glowing. I just feel like I have so much more energy since I went vegan. And just knowing that I'm helping the environment every single time I eat, I'm decreasing the amount of water we're wasting, I'm decreasing greenhouse gases, and I'm decreasing my chance of dying young from heart disease or cancer. It's amazing knowing that whoever I marry in the future, my future children, my future grandchildren, I can be a part of their lives in a way that my grandparents and a lot of my relatives haven't been able to be part of my life. Make sure to check out my playlist of my other vegan videos. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!